A point of sale or point of purchase is where you ring up customers. When customers check out online or walk up to your checkout counter or pick out an item from your stand or booth, they are at the point of sale. Your point of sale system is the hardware and software that enable your business to make those sales. A POS system allows your business to accept payments from customers and keep track of sales. It sounds simple enough, but the setup can work in different ways depending on whether you sell online, have a physical storefront, or both. A point of sale system refers to the cash register at a store. Today, modern POS systems are entirely digital, which means you can check out a customer wherever you are. All you need is a POS app and an internet-enabled device, such as a tablet or phone. With the importance of digitalization in trading today and the rampant usage of POS in businesses, we shall be looking at point of sale fraud, agony of Nigerians on The Eagle today. So thank you for joining us on another episode of The Eagle. My name is Aisha Muhammad.
Good day, Nigerians. As we all know, cybercrime is progressing at an incredibly fast pace. It is giving a bad image to Nigeria, affecting our economy and draining the youth of this country. Let us work collectively against cybercrime wherever it is committed. I am Abdurrashid Bawa, Executive Chairman, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Stand for the right thing always. Thank you.
We kick off today's program with the Executive Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Abdurrashid Bawa, calling on students across the country to demonstrate more interest and involvement in the fight against economic and financial crimes. Bawa made the call when students of Doveland High School visited the corporate headquarters of the EFCC on an educational tour. Abbas Abubakar Umar was there and tells us more about this and other visits.
The chairman, who spoke through the Director, Public Affairs Department of the Commission, Osita Nwaja, stated that active engagement of students in the fight against economic and financial crimes is the only way ideas, information, insight and challenges involved in the fight can be communicated to the Commission, and by so doing, greater progress can be made. Bawa stressed the need for collaboration in the fight, explaining that the EFCC needs every collaboration for the Commission to take the country to where we all want Nigeria to be.
We need this collaboration for the Commission to take the country to where all of us want Nigeria to be. The Nigeria that works for everybody, the Nigeria that works for you, that works for me, not Nigeria that works for only some people who have opportunity, who have access to some of the things that everybody should have access to. And because of that, they keep some of the things themselves, to their families, to their loved ones, to their business associates and all that.
Deputy Director, Creative Engagement, Swanyima Okeanu, lamented the prevalence of corruption in the society, pointing out that corruption has so depleted Nigeria that other forms of crime is taking a backstage.
Corruption has so depleted Nigeria that crime, other forms of crime, is taking a backing from it. Nigeria is such a blessed nation, but what do we get? Collapsed economy. What do we have? Collapsed roads, because the best people are not doing the work. Our future engineers, this is for you.
In the same manner, a chief superintendent of the EFCC, Alvan Garomnan, called on the student to show more dedication and carry the anti-corruption fight beyond the school environment. He said the fight must start from homes, schools, and religious places. Head of Administration of the school, Ogenekowe Omonigo, thanked the EFCC for the opportunity to visit the commission. He promised that the student will reflect what they learned in their daily endeavors. In the same vein, the executive chairman of the EFCC, Abdurrashid Bawa, has called on students across the country to shun economic and financial crimes and join the EFCC to drive the anti-graft war more vigorously. Bawa gave the charge in Abuja when students of Divine Mercy Nursery and Primary School came on a study tour of the EFCC at the Commission's headquarters. According to him, the students hold the ace of the future of Nigeria, and their involvement in the fight against corrupt practices is imperative. The EFCC boss, who spoke through the deputy commander of the EFCC, Wanyima Okeno, explained that economic crimes are counterproductive to the development of the nation and enjoined them not to allow themselves to be drawn into them. Onto them, stressing that economic crimes are a dent on the image and progress of every nation, so everyone need to collectively fight to prevent them.
Economic and financial crime is a big dent. It is really causing a lot of harm to the country. And so it is always good that each and every one of us understand what it is. And I am so happy that we have very young people here today, from primary 2, 3, 5, right?
Yes.
Speaking on cybercrimes, Chief Superintendent of the EFCC, Daniel Nwaka, took the student through the meaning, dimension, dangers, and attendant consequences of cybercrimes, including impersonation, obtaining under false pretense, cyberbullying, and forgery, among others. He charged the student to spread the anti-corruption message anywhere they find themselves. Other officers that spoke with the student are Assistant Commander of the EFCC, Tony Orilade, and Head of Enlightenment and Reorientation Unit of the Commission, Aisha Muhammad. While Orilade took the student through the organogram and various departments in the EFCC and their respective functions, Muhammad encouraged them to obey their parents and teachers, as every criminality usually starts from little things as disobedience.
There is what is called the mission and the vision. First, let's talk of the vision. The vision is a Nigeria free of economic and financial crimes. The vision is a Nigeria free of economic and financial crimes. And that vision is what we are working on every day.
You know, this fight against corruption, we cannot do it alone. So we need foot soldiers, we need everybody to be on board. We need you to go home today, you know, after this lecture, go home and talk to your parents. Tell your parents everything you've learned. The same thing we want you to tell other students that didn't come. I'm sure it's not all of you that came from your school. So you tell people in your school, you tell your classmates, you also tell your friends that are not in your school about corruption and how to fight it.
The head girl of the school, Amarachi Dibo, thanked the EFCC for the wonderful opportunity afforded her colleagues through the study tour. Highlights of the program was a drama presentation and an exhibition. Abbas Abubakar Umar reporting for the Eagle.
Executive Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC, Abdurrashid Bawa, has cautioned youths across the country against fraudulent use of information and communication technology ICT, urging them to be more creative and problem solvers for the overall good of the country. Bawa made the appeal at the grand finale of Girls in ICT Connect Live Season 6 held at Transcorp Hilton, Abuja. According to him, there are ample opportunities and possibilities that can be explored on the internet without necessarily breaking any law.
The EFCC chairman stressed that internet fraud shrinks the thinking space for positive engagement and its criminality is the death knell of originality. He therefore urged the girls in ICT to make a difference in this respect and challenge fraudulent actors on the internet by the strength of their innovation. The EFCC boss, who spoke through the Head Enlightenment and Reorientation Unit of the Commission, Aisha Muhammad, stressed that the Commission is determined to redirect the minds of youths to useful and socially desirable engagements, adding that defrauding other people of their hard-earned money and other resources through internet fraud is evil, aside from it being illegal. Bauer said the Commission will continue to launch offensives against internet fraudsters and other criminal elements and urged the youth to resist every temptation of using dishonest means to achieve wealth or fame.
At the EFCC, we have been taking on the enormous challenges posed by outmoded and manual or analog ways of doing things. We have consciously chosen to run the Commission with the aid of technology. Along with developing standard operating procedures for every single set of activities and operations of the Commission, we have also developed a 5-year strategic plan to more scientifically and measurable guide and operations of the Commission. However, the far-reaching reforms of the EFCC is anchored in part of the strong backbone provided by information and technology.
Speaking earlier, convener of the program and publisher of Noble Africa, Princess Ify, thanked the EFCC for always supporting the affairs of her publication. She urged the girls in ICT to be focused in their endeavors and believe in themselves. Also at the event, Chairman of the National Drugs Law Enforcement Agency NDLEA, Brigadier General Buba Marwa, retired, represented by Nweke Angela Oluchi, decried rising involvement of youth in drug addiction, describing it as alarming. According to him, 14.5 million Nigerians between the ages of 15 to 40 engage in drugs, and out of every 4, 1 is a woman. He therefore called on youth to stay away from drugs and bad friends that may negatively influence them. Abbas Abubakar Umar reporting for The Eagle.
Well, as earlier stated at the beginning of the program, the importance of digitalization in trading today and the rampant usage of POS in businesses across Nigeria gave the Eagle the need to sensitize the populace on point-of-sale system which is used daily. Ojochokutami Eche is standing by with our guest to shed light on the usage of POS and the frauds surrounding it. Over to you, Ojochokutami.
Thank you, Aisha. Now, answering our questions today is a Superintendent of the EFCC, Abdul Rashid Shehu. He's the second-in-command Foreign Exchange Malpractices Section of the Port Harcourt Zonal Command of the EFCC. Abdul Rashid, thank you so much for joining us in this segment of the program.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, now, let's start from the very beginning. Talking about POS fraud, what does it mean?
As the name implies, POS fraud, point of sale fraud. This is usually perpetrated by fraudsters making the use of an ATM card. And that is being used where the victims of the said fraudsters compromise their security numbers on the ATM. And they usually use it in taking due advantage by withdrawing monies from the accounts of their victims without their consent. That's how the said fraud is being perpetrated.
Abdul Rashid, how can business owners be at risk, of POS fraud?
Yeah, it do happen where their customers do come with ATM cards without having recourse to check on the ATM card the owner. Sometimes some of these ATM cards have inscription of the owner's name on it. They come with females' ATM cards. Without following the due process, the POS owner will end up carrying out that transaction without following due process and the regulations guiding operating the said POS. That is to say, when a customer comes, you need to verify the ATM card, 1. 2, you need to take his details, his name, form of identity, his phone number, that should be documented, and the amount that he had withdrawn or transferred, such that if such is being carried out as a fraud, it can be traced to whoever benefit certain amount using the said ATM card. So at that point, those that fail to carry out the due diligence fall as victims of the said fraud by the fraudsters.
So how do they themselves lose money to fraudsters using the POS machine?
Okay, the POS owners.
Yes.
Most times, if they don't carry out this due diligence, the same people that own the ATM report and we go after them because it has a unique identity per POS. So, and it's going to be identified to that POS owner. So if he does not carry out or she does not carry out the due diligence, they end up becoming our own primary suspects in the course of investigation.
Okay, now based on EFCC's experiences so far, what do you think are the red alerts, to watch out for when transacting a POS business?
From experience, you find sometimes what we call fake alerts. These same people that make use of the ATM cards to perpetrate this fraud end up sending a fake alert to either the POS owner, such that they can now take some certain amount from him, because the POS carry out a number of services. You transfer funds, you receive money, you make deposits, pay bills, and among other items, other services it rendered. So at that point in time, sometimes they give them fake alerts to presume the alert is coming from the account holder, and then they receive cash from the POS holders or agents, as the case may be.
How do I know that this machine I'm going to could, be a fraud, or this machine I'm using could be a fraud?
Fine. From the POS agents, they are registered. They have an organization. So most of the times, the POS users, you have to be careful on where and who to use his POS. They have kiosks, shops, and among other places where they carry out their businesses. You find out someone carrying POS and he's being mobile without a stationary position that you can link him up in the event there is something that goes wrong. So you should be careful not to be using POS that are mobile. They easily defraud the ATM holders or the account holders, as the case may be. Most of the times, if you are carrying out transaction on POS, do it in a designated place whereby you can trace whatever that may happen. If it happens wrong, you have somebody to get back to. These days, you see people carrying POS moving around. So people should be wary of that. Should stop patronizing such kind of people, because they can easily fall victims and they will find it difficult to fall back to those people in the event they are being defrauded. Basically, that's one of the major areas they should look at. Secondly, when you are carrying out a POS transaction and they keep telling you there is network problem, it goes as if it's not going. You should stay away from that transaction. You cut it off and stop patronizing those kind of people. Reason being that they are trying to encrypt some of your information and they keep telling you that there is network problem. Before you know it, your major details could be compromised without your knowledge. So people should stay away from those outlets. Basically, these are major areas that people should look into when carrying out POS transactions.
If anyone is convicted of POS fraud, what is the punishment? The minimum and, of course, the maximum.
As it is, POS fraud is obtaining by false pretense. And the penalty for obtaining by false pretense upon conviction is 7 to 21 years imprisonment. 7 years not exceeding 21 years imprisonment. So the minimum penalty is 7 years imprisonment without option of fine.
Now, what is the EFCC doing to fight POS fraud in Nigeria?
Basically, the EFCC have been trying sensitization. Sensitization. That's what we need most. Because most of these people are not aware of how they compromise their secret codes using the POS machine without recourse to what may go and come back. So the EFCC should double up in its enlightenment programs, like the radio and television programs, then jingles, flyers, and among other means of enlightening the public. It will go a long way in reducing that, because majority of POS fraud are usually by compromise from the ATM card holders.
I understand that. I know that the EFCC has been doing a lot, but I want us to come home to the relationship between the EFCC and POS operators. I know that the EFCC has been tasking POS operators to carry out due diligence before, transactions. How can POS operators do this?
As it is now, EFCC is already doing its own part by sensitization, enlightenment. It's already on course. And by so doing, I believe the populace will be aware on the issues that had to do with POS fraud. And the EFCC had been doing it, and it should continue doing what it's doing.
As we come to the end of this segment of the program, before I hand over to Aisha, of course, I would like you to give us your closing remarks on the topic POS fraud, the agony of Nigerians. Abdul Rashid.
Sincerely, the POS operators, one, they should be careful, and the banks with which their accounts are linked should carry out proper KYC on POS owners.
KYC?
KYC, that's know your customer, and having their details, knowing to know where they operate, their resident, and among other things that you can easily link them up in the event there is fraud that is being perpetrated by their POS machines. Then, to the POS users, they should be careful not to compromise their personal details in the event of carrying out POS transactions. This can be done in various ways. When you are entering your personal code onto the POS machine, you should try as much as possible to hide usage, because they easily get that by the use of your hands, how you place your hands, because they are so sharp that how you place your hand, they can determine which numbers you are touching. So the user should be very careful not to compromise their personal secret numbers in using the POS. I think that will reduce it. Majority of POS fraud are carried out by this issue of compromise by the card owners, and before you know it, they become victims.
My name is Ojo Chokutami Eche. It's back to Aisha in the studio.
Thank you, Ojo Chokutami. And as rightly said by the second-in-command of the Foreign Exchange Malpractice Section Port Harcourt Command of the EFCC, Abdul Rashid Shehu, it is important to do a diligent KYC, which is Know Your Customer, by POS operators, while the POS users should hide their PINs when using a POS. Never compromise your personal number to avoid being defrauded. Now, before we end the program, as usual, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC wishes to inform the public that it has launched a virtual town hall meeting called EFCC Connect to expand its reach and engagement with citizens within and outside the country. EFCC Connect is an online program designed to engender close interface and collaboration with the Nigerian public, provide answers and clarifications to issues, sensitize and educate them on the war against economic and financial crimes using the social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. This Wednesday on the EFCC Connect, the topic of discussion is Landlord, give your house to Yahoo boys, spend 15 years in jail. Yes, you heard me. Join the conversation on our Twitter space at official EFCC at 6 p.m. for this and more on EFCC Connect. Also, the EFCC, in a bid to sanitize its systems against internal corruption and to ensure that its officers conduct themselves in a professional manner, has through the Department of Internal Affairs opened up dedicated channels for reporting acts of misconduct by its officers. To report any case of misconduct by any officer of the EFCC, kindly send an email to dia@efcc.gov.ng or call the Servicom unit of the EFCC on 091 5899 354. Note, you can only send or call when you are 100% sure and have supporting evidence to back your claim. And that concludes our program for the day. We will be back next week, same time, same station. Don't forget to keep a date with us. But before we go, here is a reminder that you can send an email to info@efcc.gov.ng and speak to our officers on 0809 3322644 and follow us on all our social media platforms at official EFCC for all matters relating to economic and financial crimes. If you see fraud happening, use the EFCC mobile app, the Eagle Eye. Download the app, follow the steps and report fraud on the go. You can also take pictures of corrupt practices and upload them. My name is Aisha Muhammad, leaving you with this parting words that says, integrity, transparency, and the fight against corruption have to be part of the culture. They have to be taught as fundamental values. Do the right thing always. Goodbye. God bless Nigeria. Please do stay safe, be kind to one another, and enjoy the rest of the week.